Let's talk. Two weeks ago, I went to Steps 12th night. Wonderful event. One of the events that I have not had a chance to go to in ages. I literally think it's been 20 years at this point. I love the event. I loved it when I went last time, and I just haven't had a chance to go since then. So, it was absolutely wonderful opportunity. My wife and I got up super early, and we hopped in the car with a friend who drove us down Saturday morning, and we showed up. And just a wonderful chance to hang out and be social and talk with people. Now, for those of you who don't know, Steps is in the Dallas area. And you should be able to find Dallas on a map. And of course, we're driving from Oklahoma City. Just keep those 2 points on the map in mind. So, I'm down there, and 12 Night's a big enough event that it draws people from all over the place. You get people from way down south near the coastal region of Onstura. And of course, people come in from Wiesenfeuer and North Keep, which are, not the northern edges, but damn close to the northern edge, and east and west. It's a big event. A lot of people show up. So I wasn't surprised in the least to see people from all sorts of different baronies and shires and cantons. And had a bunch of people show up from the barony of Bonwick, which for those of you who watched my videos before know I'm a past champion of. I'm also I'm allowed to wear their colors. And I've been a friend of Bonwick's for ages at this point. They're good people, and I've been honored. Even though I've never paid a single mundane bill in their zip codes. I've never resided in their zip codes. They treat me as family there. So I've always been glad to see them. Always been glad to hang out with them. And Bonwick is just a great group of people. So that's kind of a good prelude to, I remember I was ducking into the feast hall, the main hall. One of my runs back and forth, I think I was looking for my wife to deliver a message. And all of a sudden, Brignolf, the Baron of Bonwick, I was walking this way, and he just kind of intercepted me, and his hand caught my arm, and he goes, "Ivo, can we talk for a minute?" He had this really serious look on his face. Now, you have to understand, for the first third of my life, the use of my first name followed by the phrase, "Can we talk for a minute?" was universally a prelude to me getting chewed out for something. So automatically, blood pressure goes through the roof, adrenaline dump, my heart starts racing, and like, oh Jesus, what did I do this time? What did I do this time? God help me. So he guides me out in the hall. And as we hit the hall, he's kind of angling me. He switches sides, and he had his hand behind my arm. And the halls there were just crowded enough that that's not as aggressive as it might sound to some people. But he was definitely steering me away from large crowds. This was very clearly going to be a slightly secluded conversation. And he says, "Ivo, you recall that conversation online where you asked if you count as a member of Bonwick." And now context, on the Bonwick group chat, someone had said, "Who from Bonwick is going to Steps 12th night?" And I had raised my hand, put a little raise hand icon in the chat. I said, yes, if I count. Now, my reason for saying if I count, to be fair, was if that was a question involving logistics, like carpooling or someone taking a message for someone or something like that, whether or not I'm going is immaterial. I'm not traveling from Lubbock, Texas. So that's why I couched my answer. But I said, yeah, I'm going if I count. And a lot of people kind of chimed in and waved their hands and said, no, you count. You're one of us. So I was a fun interaction, very typical of my interaction with Bonwick, and I was very grateful and, just fun moment. So all that in pretense or preference, preface, I can't talk, all that in preface, and then all of a sudden the Baron coming up with a very stern face. Ivo, can I talk with you for a minute? I'm like, oh God, what did I say? What did I say? What did I say? And so he asked me, so you remember where you asked if you counted as a member? And I said, yes. I was joking, but yes. And he gets really serious. He goes, about that. And by this point in time, we're at the end of the hall, and all of a sudden I hear the woman right here about my 3 o'clock, and I turn, and she goes, this does now open the court of their excellencies of Bonwick. And I realized that there's a small cadre of people following us, and they're all Bonwick. And as she rattles off, I hear the first 2 sentences, and I realize she's doing a court. She's opening court for His Excellency Brignoff. And all of a sudden it processed, I have just been expertly guided into a pop-up court. So I pull my hat off and I drop to one knee. And the award that they read me in for was the Coterie of Salt. And you can see the award and the largesse, or the stuff that comes with it here. But when the award was read, the bottom line is that I was named a full member of Bonwick. I am to be counted as resident and member and citizen of the Barony of Bonwick. And the selection of the Coterie of Salt, Brignoff explained a minute later. He said, salt is in blood, in sweat, and in tears, and you have given all 3 for our barony. And there are 2 things here that I want you to take away from this. Because, yes, this ceremony for me is extremely personal, and it is extremely touching, and it's a very deep meaning for me, because I've never lived in Bonwick, and to extend that type of a recognition, to say that someone who does not live in your barony is to be counted as a member of your barony, is to be given, the dignities and the privileges. I now, during pollings, I now have an invitation to speak. When they poll the barony, being a member means I get to fill out a polling form and say I have an opinion about who the next baron or baroness is. It means I get to speak up at meetings or send emails going, I have an opinion about this, even though I've never lived there. That's a tremendous political gesture, and it's a recognition of a relationship between one individual and the barony, that they're willing to literally overlook the fact this person doesn't live here and give them the recognition of a local member. That's a huge deal. It's something that for someone like me at least, that's an earth-moving level of emotion goes into that. The other thing that is really a lot of people overlook here is the pop-up court, which some of you may not even know what that is. So I'm just going to take a few minutes. I'm going to break down these 2 elements. Being called a member of a group that you don't live in, first of all, there's historical precedent for that. Offering someone citizenship or membership or residency in an area or a group or any sort of jurisdiction where they don't physically reside, it's been a political and social tool as long as there's been organized governments. Within the SCA, it is one of a great many ways available to a group to recognize individuals who don't live there, who have decided that they still want to come and hang out and help out that group. Not saying the group necessarily needs the help. It's not to say that the group is desperate for help. It's to say that this group is in a situation where we choose to recognize and more deeply appreciate those who come out and play with us, even though you may not live with us. The award carries no rank. It is not an armigerous award. It doesn't have the crown signature on it, so it has no rank by definition within society law. But in terms of emotional significance, in terms of you know, what that means to me personally, I'm not going to say it's more important than my grants, but I'll put it on par with my star or my iris in terms of emotional weight. It's a masterfully important thing for me to hear that formally from a group. And if your area or your group, or if you hear of someone you know who gets an award like that, where they are counted as a member or a citizen or a friend of a group that they don't live in, that they are not a resident of, understand that while that award may not carry any formal rank, it may not help them on their progression down a given track or whatever, that award may still represent a significant emotional investment or emotional reinvestment on the part of the group or the individual, but it's a tangible affirmation that what you are doing is seen and it is appreciated. And I don't want that being overlooked because, it doesn't carry any rank. How important can it be? Well, I'm here to tell you some of the most emotionally significant awards on my OP don't have any rank. Now, the other thing that I want to highlight is the pop-up court. Now, I don't know if all kingdoms call it this, but in Ansteor, and especially since lockdown, we have taken to lightening our court loads. Instead of having all the awards have to be read in evening court, which that was the tradition for the longest time, we've taken to doing a lot of times we'll split them up. We'll do a bunch of awards in the morning and a bunch of awards in the afternoon or evening court. So that automatically cuts the number of awards in one sitting in half, or can potentially. But also pop-up courts. And the pop-up court, the way it works is instead of closing court at the end of the morning court, instead this does now close the court. No, what they do is this does now recess the court. And what that means is that while court is not formally in session, all you have to do is say, this does now reopen the court, and all of your other formalities are taken care of. And the nobles, or even the royals, can wander around site, and if they see something outstanding or amazing, or if they see someone who has an award on their docket that day, and that person might not be there later, might not be available, might be busy, might not be able to free themselves to come to court because they're helping to cook or they're helping to do something else. Or maybe they have social anxiety, or maybe they have an impairment where physically traversing their way up to court would be an unnecessary encumbrance. A pop-up court lets you, in a much more controlled, in a much smaller environment, recognize a person. In a formal court, there is no administrative difference between pop-up court and a full court. They're both courts. Just because it's unscheduled doesn't mean it's any less impactful. But when you do a pop-up court, that can also let you get someone while they're in their element. I received my Sable Crane, which is at the time it was an AOA level award for kingdom level service. I received it while I was heralding a list, and it's widely understood. Well, at the time it was not for a specific discipline. At the time it was widely understood that a large part of what I had done to get that award was voice heraldry. So giving me the award right there on the list field, surrounded by the fighters I was heralding, was an amazing moment. And being able to have a pop-up court with Bonwick, where it was really the only people who are going to care about, the only people who are really going to have any emotional investment in this are me and Bonwick. And that pop-up court let them do that. It was just The only people who really made it, because I know Her Excellency Beatrix regretfully couldn't be there. She couldn't make it to the event that day. But Brignolf and a cadre of Bonwickers, they managed to pull me aside, and that meant them and me, and those were all the critical parties. And they weren't derailing the event. They weren't slowing down royal court. This wasn't it wasn't taking away from anything else, but it was a formal court that still had the emotional weight of no, this is an edict read into law by the Baron and Baroness of Bonwick. So it gives them that flexibility. So if you see a pop-up court going on, I want you to understand that's what it is, and those are some of the metrics that might leverage why the nobles or royals are doing pop-up courts. And if you are in a position to advise a noble or a royal about how to schedule their day, how to lighten their load, how to approach individuals, do some research into it. But a pop-up court is a viable option for a lot of people because it gives you a much more controlled environment, and it can be smaller and faster and socially more nimble. I know, 2 for 1, a lot to talk about there, and I'm trying desperately not to let these videos run on for forever. So I thank you very much for joining me on this, and I hope that you take something away from this video. And if you have any questions, or if you have any of your own court or award traditions, make sure to put them in the comments down below. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you at the next event. Till then, goodbye, and God bless. If there are 2 things I've learned that drive videos these days, it's controversy and engagement. Now, I am never going to fly the controversy flag on a regular basis. It's not what I'm here for. It's not the content I want to make, and I really don't think it helps any of us. But let's do engagement. If you like this video, please go down in the comments and leave a comment. Make sure to share the video. And last but not least, easiest of all, make sure to like the video. That helps drive the algorithm. It helps get the video views and helps promote this material. Thank you very much.